fake Facebook man, posting lies about my life which no one else can. Filters on my face to disguise my age, showing money that I don't have. There's words on my page. Why don't you come and join my team? It's called living the fake Facebook life dream. If they post a pic of me deeply, but it's pizza and burgers for dinner, you know what I mean. A snapshot of vacations that I got no money to take. Send you one of my sports cars, you know that it's a fake. Got my walls loaded up with things that aren't even true. Pretending on Facebook is my thing, it's my thing too. Yeah, 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 yeah.
2,000 friends, which I've never done met. A pic of my lunch is what you're gonna get. I had a post of your baby, say it's one darn cute kid. But I lied, cause it's ugly, that's called an online fib. I talk about success in my job and the pending promotion, but in reality it's a psych, cause I got a demotion.
Only the fake Facebook man, posting lies about my life which no one else can. Filters on my face to disguise my age, showing money that I don't have. There's words on my page. Why don't you come and join my team? It's called living a fake Facebook life dream.
You block me on Facebook without a judge, jury, or trial. I'll be creeping you the next day with a shiny new profile. See a pic of my family? Yeah, we're having a good time. Well, the joke's on you. We have not talked in 8 months or 9. I'll tell you about the weather and the stuff you don't need to know. I'll fake a good illness so the sympathy will grow. I'll ask you to donate to my made-up cause and post selfies on the daily. That ain't breaking no laws. So don't judge the life of the fake Facebook man, pretending to be happy like no one else can. Are you staying warm, Kinsman?
Yes, I am. But before we move any further, we got to switch our decals. We've crossed paths.
Yeah.
There we go.
Is that a lot better for you?
So much unnormalcy happening in today's day and age with COVID. Let's keep things normal, right? For a Tuesday, anyway. How are you?
I'm doing good. You sent me to guac all alone today, but I did eat for 2, so I got one of those full stomachs for the show tonight. What do you think about that?
That's that was quite the day. I wish I could have been there, but obviously COVID putting the stay-at-home order and homeschooling came back into the neck of the woods. So I was playing teacher. Well, in fact, I was monitoring my little guy. It's amazing. With the homeschooling, you think someone being kindergarten, if I can go back thinking, what was I thinking at kindergarten? My little guy, can handle the tablet pretty good. And, the teachers, you got to give them a thumbs up because it's hard to keep, the attention focus, the blinders on. There was times where my little guy was looking at me saying, Papa, is it time to, I said, you just keep going there. So, thumbs up to the teachers. It's a tough task. And, cheers to all the parents out there who have to do homeschooling. Now we know why. I always say this is the joke, why we always hand the teachers the LCBO cards at gift time.
I wonder when you were in school, were you like were you the class clown, or were you the guy that said, hey teacher, you forgot to give us homework or that quiz today?
No, never.
No,
never. I was the one. I'm still not the best at math, but we used to do a thing back in grade school. I think about grade 5 or 6 minute math. You remember that? Where they used to go by the desks.
Oh,
and,
right.
I was maybe 15th, in a class of, 30, and they would go desk 1, 2, 3. And if you got the question right, they move to the next desk. And if they got the question wrong, you'd have to think on your toes, because if you were like me, terrible at math, I did the math already, think, okay, here's the question that I'm going to get. And then, Bob in front of me gets the question wrong. And here I have to, totally puts me on the spot for, a question that I wasn't prepared for. Right.
All right. What a school history lesson, Kinsman. All right. What about our friends at Timmins RV?
Yeah, big shout out to them. It is the wonderful Get S'more event that's on right now. $1,000 cash back. TimminsRV.com. You can find yourself a new or used RV, gently used. And you can get yourself some new wheels just in time for the summer. And keep in mind that you do not have to pay for 6 months. And if you want to see what a trailer looks like in the used department, you've got a beautiful one that's parked on your driveway, Mr. Klomp.
I do. I tell all my neighbors it belongs to me, because then they think I have money. But the truth is, it belongs to my parents-in-law. They do have it parked here, and I think we're going to shoot a commercial from it at some points. And it's this thing's beautiful. Like, I think this week I might live in it as soon as it warms up, Kinsman.
Well, you were in there this past weekend, and now look, we had snow. Overnight.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of put the damper on the camping plans as of right now. Okay. But TimminsRV.com, the place to go. The place to go when we get back into yellow orange, when we can actually loosen the restrictions, is going to be the Surge and the Sports Lounge here in the city. They have now joined forces with KINZ and KLOMP Live. We can't send enough love to the Surge with Kim and her staff. Feeling the COVID punch, the pinch right now. Yeah. So when we do get back, we're going to bring, we're going to pack the place for 12 months. We've got a 12-month tenure with Kim and the Surge here in the city. So we can't wait to get back to a little bit of normalcy where we can get back inside the Surge.
We wait to see what we got planned for our first in-person show. Hopefully it's going to be in May, and we got tons. It's not going to be like your standard comedy show. We're going to have a ton of things happening, and it's going to really have a big city vibe. So I'm looking forward to getting there, hopefully in May. And our good friend Martin Peel, right?
Yes, Martin Peel, Pat's Canine Protection and Detection Services. He's the man who, not only, way back when we had him on the show, does, security. He's now, the top of the line when it comes to canines. If you need a canine trained in the city of Timmins or around the world, they look at Martin Peel at Pat's Canine Protection and Detection Services. And, a couple shows ago, we named his 2 new search and rescue canines, Sade and Brinks. In fact, that was Kiana Brio and Harper LaMarche, who named the 2 pups. They each picked up $50 from Martin. Martin, the man, who would give the shirt off your back. Written in the proof was this past Sunday show giving away. He started the $1,000 trend where we gave away $1,000 to a local business in need, and then 2 other businesses hopped on board. We had Spoiled Rotten and Minuteman Press gave away $3,000, all courtesy, and it all was spearheaded by Mr. Martin Peel back on Sunday.
Okay, so Gilles Bisson is here. I can't wait to speak with him, but I always like to start with a couple hellos first. So, hey, McKlomp
and KINZ. Now, can you go back to that comment before we get into Sarah there? McKlomp there. Did you say her name wrong in one of your live videos? I think you did.
I did in trivia night, and I did intentionally. So if you shop local, we'll send you a personalized thank you. And okay. I called her Janice McKean again. But I always try and crack a joke. Hello, McKean. You must have posted that, Kinsman.
I posted that, yeah.
There you go.
On behalf of you, I said, at least if she's saying hello, you got to say hello back. That's the polite thing to do.
You're a good man. Happy 420.
Really? Can you go back to Justin's comment there? Is 420 still a thing? Because now that, pot is legalized?
It looks like it.
420 all the time now.
Sherry.
Yes, she was on the show from... Where are we going there? Where was Sarah? I was reading Sherry's comment. What was she saying there?
Yeah, well, you got to be able to read quickly there, Kinsman. Hi, guys.
Looking forward to tonight's show.
Yes. Sarah says the first virtual day of school is down. Hi, guys. Merry Christmas in April. Yes.
Yes. As they say, April showers bring the May snow plowers.
That's right.
Carol says, hello, guys. Always look forward to your show. Thank you so much, Carol, for tuning in as we, we keep it going. And again, the sponsors that we say each and every night at the top of each show, if it wasn't for these sponsors, Jamie and I would be, we wouldn't be here where we are today with this show. So we thank every single viewer. Comment, if you see us on the street, give us a high five. We appreciate all the kind words that flood into our show.
Absolutely, 1,000%. So, are we ready to bring Gilles on?
I think so. Gilles Bisson, the member of provincial parliament. Hello, Gilles Bisson. He's joining us from Kamoskosha Lake.
Yay!
I wonder how good Gilles' math is. So, if he's been in parliament for 31 years, how many times have you been elected?
8 times.
He's pretty good.
But there's things that I forget about each campaign as they get longer.
That's right.
31 years.
Yeah, it is pretty impressive. So we do have a bunch of things that we want to talk about, and we know some of the viewers have some questions, but obviously, COVID dominates conversations around the table, around the businesses, and I'm sure in your world. But as an MPP, how has your role changed specifically since, last March 2020?
Well, big time. But first of all, let me just, to you and all your viewers, a good hello. This is my first time on the show and looking forward to it. And I just want to thank you for the invite. Hey, listen, it's changed quite a bit. Outside of COVID, prior to COVID, most of what we do is you go to events, you meet with people physically one-on-one or in groups. There's a lot of travel, especially in my old riding. Now it's just Timmins. It's not so bad, but a lot of travel to and from Queen's Park. This has really changed things. I was talking to some colleagues today in regards to how COVID has changed the way that we do our work. And in some ways, it's made our work much more efficient. I like I miss doing the things we used to do before, but it's become very efficient because I now get to meet with people around the province and around the riding on a very regular basis by phone and by Zoom. And I talk to far more people now than I did prior to COVID. So it's a lot more work, and you are really reaching out in a way that's very different than before. And you're just proof of that. Your technology that you're using here is something we would have never seen 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it allows people to see you in a different way.
Now, seeing some of the posts, I think there was a post recently from you on your Facebook page in regards to the support for community small businesses who have suffered over the past 13 months. What can you offer for a small business out there that maybe they haven't looked into, that maybe you can help them out here in the city?
Well, we're working with the Timmins Economic Development Corporation and a number of other people in regards to all of the applications that went into these provincial programs. The province has put in place programs in order to assist small businesses weather the storm. The programs may not be as much as we need and may not be as fulsome as they need to be, but at least it's something to assist. And what's really frustrated a lot of people, they've applied, they've been accepted, and the money hasn't come. And that has been very, very frustrating for a lot of small businesses. And it means in some cases, they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth. And if that money doesn't come soon, they're going to be in trouble. In other cases, you got people that applied, they've been denied, and they're not being given a reason why. And there's not really an appeal process, and the government doesn't get back to them. So we've been working with we had a meeting the other day with the TEDC. We did a survey of all the small businesses in town. 65% of those who applied for programs were not satisfied with the program. And they gave us the reasons why. They want the program to work. They're not opposed to it. They just need it to work. So we've taken all of that information. We sent it off to the minister today. And I've raised it with Sylvia Jones, who's the minister responsible for emergency measures at committee, I guess, about a week or two ago. So we're just going to keep on chugging away along with the TEDC in order to make sure that those at least that got approved get their money, and those that were not approved get a fair hearing when it comes to trying to fix whatever it was that didn't allow them to get the money. But the bigger problem is the program is somewhat restrictive and not as robust as it needs to be. And that's some of the changes that should have happened at the very beginning.
And you see other posts from, businesses, that have been shut down. There's no curbside for them. And, I just saw a post today stating that, some businesses are being audited because of, some of these grants, which, some, like you were just saying, haven't come into their midst yet. Or, maybe they have, but, being audited, should businesses be audited during, this time?
Listen, every business gets audited every year. They have to have their books checked by their accountants and stuff. It's a normal thing. But you shouldn't audit somebody just for the sake of auditing them. And back to your original point in regards to curbside, I think one of the biggest frustrations small business and I think residents had is you're able to walk into a Walmart, and I only use them as an example because they're a big box store, buy what you want, and you shut down all the small businesses in your community. And I thought, and I advocated, along with many others, eventually the government changed that to where you can actually do curbside. But a lot of small businesses were hurt, and in some cases hurt so bad, they ain't coming back. And the government should have known that you need to assist small business, not just big box stores.
It leads me into the next question, and this is not going to be a surprise, but with curbside, let's just go back to like the last 13 months. We've been in and out of lockdown, stay-at-home orders. It seems to be constantly changing. Now, none of us here pretend to have a medical degree or are scientists, but to me, common sense would tell if the current way of doing things is not effective, why don't we try something that's either more significant or close down the places? To me, one of the issues are some of these large work factories. Now, that may be a more down south type issues, but do you feel that the current measures by the provincial government are effective to reduce the spread of COVID, or should we be doing more?
Well, first of all, not everything the government does is bad, and let's not say that everything is, throw everything out with the bathwater. But the government, if you look at other places like Australia, New Zealand, and other countries, they took a very different approach. They said at the beginning, okay, we see COVID somewhere, we're going to do a hard lockdown, we're going to get it under control, and they shut their borders. They didn't allow people to come into the country. In fact, Australia announced the other day, I think it was on Monday, they're not reopening their borders because at this point, they don't have COVID infections, and they don't have the rate of vaccination that you're seeing in the United States. The United States, 50% of the population has been vaccinated. In Australia and Canada, it's far less than that. And that's why we're seeing these variants in places like Canada really, overtake us. In Australia, it didn't happen because they killed it off in the first wave back last summer and last spring. So I think where the government went wrong, and we were trying to tell them, at Christmas time, we should have shut everything down after Boxing Day. We should have said, okay, Boxing Day after, shut her down for 2 or 3 weeks, get this thing under control. And then wherever you have an infection, you shut that place down for a while. Be it a box, let's say an Amazon factory, whatever kind of company it is, that if you have an infection, you shut it down, you lock it down, you make sure that you test everybody, you give people paid time off, you compensate the business so that they don't go under, and then you deal with it that way until you can get your level of vaccination up. And that's the problem that we've got. We don't have the vaccines rolled out that we need to get to the point of being able to fight this latest wave. And unfortunately, the government allowed it to get away on them.
To me also, it's even when you have the vaccine. So I received mine yesterday, and speaking with I was very happy to get it. But speaking with the health unit officials, I believe they told me they had 600 open slots for that day, but only 400 people registered. So do you believe it's just some folks that are being cautious? I know the health unit does a lot of promotion through their social media sites, but maybe the word's not getting to some people outside of social media.
Listen, people need to get vaccinated, period. Like, the reality is that if you look at the numbers, it doesn't matter if it's AstraZeneca, it's Moderna, it's Pfizer, doesn't matter what the vaccine is. There is ample, what's the word I'm looking for? Ample proof that once you're vaccinated, you may end up with the disease before you get your second shot. but you're going to survive it. You're not going to end up in a hospital, and you're not going to die. If you don't get vaccinated, the chances are you will get ill. In some cases, you may die. People need to take seriously the need to be vaccinated. And I know I've got good friends of mine who have argued with me, Gilles, I'm not doing it. You know, this is Bill Gates trying to put a microchip in my head, and they've got all kinds of different theories why it shouldn't be done. Listen, we get vaccinated for the flu every year. We've been vaccinated for basic diseases, the mumps and all the different things that we used to get before. And those are effective. And if we're going to get beyond this, we need to get everybody vaccinated, and people should. I got mine last Tuesday at the Porcupine Health Unit with Moderna because they finally lowered it to below 60. So I was able to get in. I'm 63. So I would just encourage, get vaccinated. Don't play around with this.
You know, speaking of, getting vaccinated and, making sure that we can, I guess, flatten the curve more for COVID. When it comes to schools, obviously we're back in a stay-at-home order. Schools now back to online learning again. Should schools be open during this time? And if not, how do we support parents who can't afford to miss work that have now had to take time off to be with their child, during another homeschooling bout? I was talking to another lady, I won't mention her name, but she says, when I saw her before the stay-at-home order, she's like, I can't afford to do this, but, you have to as a parent. Like, who's going to do the homeschooling with your child?
We should have never been in this position in the first place. The experts, the medical experts and us have been telling the government since last spring, reduce the class sizes and where necessary, provide daycare. If you have to lock a school down because there's been cases, then you need to make sure that there's some sort of daycare available for parents, and that could be in the way of a subsidy or whatever it might be in order to assist the parent. Because in a lot of cases, people aren't working for big bucks. They're working for various jobs that pay $15 to $25 an hour. Normally, both parents are working, and to pay the bills, they need those checks. They can't be at home taking care of their kids. So the government didn't lower the class sizes, and we got to where we are now. And the really scary part was, before they announced the closure of the schools in Ontario, 28% of our schools had COVID infections. 28% of all schools in Ontario. That was really getting out of hand at a time where the government was saying, don't worry, everything's okay. And one day he says everything's okay, and the next day they shut down all the schools. So did the government have to shut them down? I don't think they had any choice in the end, but I don't think they needed to get there if they would have done what they had to do. Reduce class sizes, make sure that you provide support for those that need to be home if they, not feeling well, both students as far as providing daycare for the parents and or teachers who may be feeling ill. And unfortunately, we didn't do those things, and we are where we are. So now we're in this awful situation where parents want to keep their children safe, but what are they going to do with the kids at home? Some of them are really struggling to try to figure out how to get to work every day.
Yeah, that's a large issue. A couple comments just around the COVID situation. So that's Janice. You want to read that one, Mark?
Yeah, Janice says, I ordered from a local business, and this gentleman was so stressed about making rent. I wanted to hug him. He looked so stressed and upset. I really wanted to give him a hug. I wish I was able to help him. And yes, this pandemic hasn't helped anyone except the big box stores. I feel for all our friends with small businesses, and I think the vaccine should be open to anyone who wants it. And those that don't want it, that's fine, but we need to start living again.
I couldn't agree more. Listen, shop local, support your local businesses. Who supports your hockey team, your soccer team, all of those things that we do that make us a community. It's the small independent businesses. It's those people downtown and those people on, Riverside Drive and everywhere else who operate businesses, who employ local people, who reinvest in our community and support our organizations. The big box stores, they're there to make money for their shareholders. Good for them. They provide a service. I get it, but we need to support our local businesses, because if they go, we're not going to be any better off. And I totally agree with what that person was saying.
Gary had a comment speaking about, the international flights, but at the beginning of the pandemic, the federal government said the borders were closed, but we found out later that people were still able to fly in and out of the country freely with no restrictions. The government should have completely closed the border. So that's one thing, once again, that frustrates people when they see the international flights, coming in and out of the country, and they feel nothing has been done to restrict that movement.
Yeah, well, for good reason, because it's not. You can go into Pearson International, jump on a plane, and go almost anywhere in the world, and people can come back. It seems to me ridiculous. I was talking to somebody the other day who's coming back from somewhere. I won't say where it is. They're coming back. They've got to quarantine for 3 days on getting back to Canada, then go home and quarantine at home. So that means to say you go from Toronto Pearson, you go Air Canada, you fly to Timmins. So who knows what's going to happen on the plane? And then you go into your house and you quarantine for 14 days and maybe infect your own family members. So it just seems to me the way that the government is dealt, and this is the federal government, not so much a provincial government, they should have done what Australia and other places have done and said, listen, sorry, until we get this thing under control, no.
Looking at one of the incoming flight trackers that they do have out there, just last week alone, there was 33 international flights, with each of those flights with multiple cases of COVID coming into Toronto. And again, I totally agree. If it's a federal, why isn't the federal government, hopping on board with the likes of Australia and New Zealand and saying, you know what, we're just going to have to bite the bullet and say no to incoming flights, because every flight that comes in, it's almost like we're a hamster on a hamster wheel, spinning our legs and going absolutely nowhere. We're into our third stay-at-home order now, lockdown, 13 months later, still the same thing. Something needs to be done. Do you guys have contacts with the federal? Can you, maybe?
Well, I know I've been talking to Charlie, and Charlie has been raising this with the federal government. But the basic problem we have in Ontario, the provincial government decided early on the way out of this was by vaccination. And they're not entirely wrong. If everybody's vaccinated, we're fine. But we didn't have the supply to get us to where we needed to be before these variants came in. And we didn't make the decisions that we had to make while we could still make them in order to beat back the infection before the variants took hold. So we're now in this spot where they're saying now, AstraZeneca is delayed. The 2 next shipment of AstraZeneca is delayed. It's like we don't have the supply that we were even told that we were going to get to provide to citizens. So, we're in a tough spot. And I think, I don't like it. I hate being stuck. I'm in a wonderful place. I'm at Lake Kaministosha. Look.
Yeah, that does look good.
I can't complain about my surroundings. But my point is, I don't like the idea of having to be here. There are people that I want to go visit. I got family and friends that I haven't seen in over a year. I have an aunt who's got Alzheimer's, who at one point, will I be able to even talk to her? I try calling her on the phone, but that's not the same as going to visit her, right? And so we're all affected by this, and I want to get out of this. And the best way to do it is the government could have made decisions for us not to be as bad off as we are. And now we're going to have to bite the bullet.
I'm kind of curious about the final decision making of the premier. So obviously he has a team around him to advise him, scientists, medical officers, ministers. I understand that, but ultimately, if there's a decision to be made, does Doug Ford, our premier, does he make the final decision?
Yep. In the end, it's the premier that makes the final decision. And if you saw what happened today, it was extremely remarkable. I've never seen this before, and I've been around for a while. His own advisors, the science table, said all of these decisions and announcements he made on Friday were not recommended by the medical. What do they call it? The science table or the advisory table. They never said to the government, arrest people and pull them over if you see them in their cars. They never said shut down parks. Kids can't, go play. They actually came out today and said the government did opposite of what we asked them to do, which is, to your point, they said these are political decisions not based on medical advice. And I thought for them to say that was I've never seen I never seen bureaucracy say that about governments before, which tells me that we got a bigger problem than we thought. And even his own caucus, if you look at the press conference on Friday, it was delayed. And I remember when it kept on getting delayed, I was talking to John Bantoff, my colleague, and Frangelina and a few others. And I was saying, there's got to be a fight going on within cabinet right now and within their caucus about what's about to be announced. I says, they're going to announce something that they are telling him, don't do it. And it turned out that's exactly what it was. When he announced police will have the powers to arrest you and pull you over, I don't think that went over very well.
No, it didn't.
Not at all. You see people, stating that we're going to, communism and all these, comments that.
Well, Doug Ford, I know he's no communist. I can guarantee you. I once gave a speech in the House, and I referred them to Stalin, Comrade Joe, but that was just joking.
Lillian makes an excellent point. So there are people that obviously there's all types of viewpoints on COVID, whether it's real conspiracy. We see it all over social media, but it's a good point. What do we do about the naysayers with the vaccine? Some people are legitimately concerned about taking a vaccine and refuse to get it. So then what? Can you force people to take a vaccine?
No. You can't. No, you can't. And I would never advocate that. Listen, every person has a right to decide, I want the vaccine or I don't want the vaccine. And I think the only thing that we can do, those of us who think it's important, is to say, listen, I urge you to take it. But at the end, that's their decision. You can't stop that.
There's not going to be, travel passports stating that you have to get a vaccine. Like, let's say they don't force you to get the vaccine, but if you want to hop on a flight and, do airlines have the control to say you can't hop on our airline without getting a vaccine? Or are there going to be ways to sidestep around that too, or what?
Well, they haven't done it up to now. I don't think they're going to do it in the future. I'd be somewhat surprised. And given what happened on Friday and the government having to back down on Saturday, I don't think they're going there. I'd be very surprised.
I know, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so I follow them on social media.
Good for you. They have a great quarterback.
We're getting it. We're so close this year. So close. We are getting there, but I seen them. They released a post the other day. They said, if you want to come into the stadium this fall, then you're going to need to be vaccinated. So that's coming out of the States, but that could be a trend that comes here. If you want to attend.
It's just my instinct that listen, I have, disagreements, philosophically and politically with the conservative government. But I will say this, it is not natural for conservatives to want to do those type of things. Mm-hmm. And so when you saw Ford do what he did on Friday to say, I'm going to give police extraordinary powers, it tells me he was completely freaked out over what was going on and recognized that this thing is getting far worse than they anticipated. And for him to go there, it really surprised me because it's not naturally what conservatives would do.
And then you see all the police forces around the province, putting out their Twitter posts and Facebook posts stating, "Hey, we, whatever Ford said, we're not going to abide by that." So that tells you something as well.
I was on the phone Saturday and again today because I'm the Solicitor General critic that deals with police and fire and all that stuff. And a lot of conversation with police chiefs and police associations. They were not happy. Nope, not at all. But what's worst is the government says it's withdrawn the order, but they reissued a new order. And the new emergency order says it's the discretion of the police to do what they said they would do automatically on Friday. So this ain't over.
One of the other things you hear in our community is that we're being punished because things that are happening in the South. How effective do you think the North voice is being heard at the table when they make these, provincial wide decisions? Is that just a decision that like the province is just an easy decision to make? They close it all down and force restrictions across the province? Or do they look at it in segregations by health unit?
Well, we were pretty effective when you think about it. Initially, the government shut everything down last spring. And then we pointed out, not just myself, but, municipal councils and a whole bunch of other people pointed out to the province, hang on a second, places like Timmins or Kapuskasing or, Kenora, we're not experiencing the same thing as you see in Peel and downtown Toronto and Ottawa. So the government did listen and they went to these zones where you had some places open, some places closed. I think the mistake that they made is that they allowed travel between those zones a little bit too freely. You have to have some travel because you got to move goods and services. Workers have got to come in. There's reasons why you have to travel.
That's it.
But they didn't limit unnecessary travel. And as a result, that's where most of our infections are coming from in Timmins. I forget what the number is today, but most of the infections that we are now getting in Timmins are as a result of people who traveled in from somewhere outside. And so we could have still kept, I think, a regional approach, but we would have needed to limit the travel, like travel for medical reasons, travel for moving goods and services. I get all of that. But just to travel, go pick up your children at university, there's reasons that people do have to travel, but unnecessary travel could have been, I think, limited.
See the question from that there, Mark.
Yes, let's fire that up there. Gilles, do you think they will open it back up and keep the stay-at-home order down south during this third wave?
I don't think so, no. And it's not what you and I want. I think, like I said a little while ago, I think Ford is completely freaked out, and for good reason. They look at the numbers that we're running over 4,000 cases a day that we're identifying people with testing of less than 100,000 people a day. Our infection rates are up, and they're not getting any better because the reality is that if you work somewhere and you're not feeling well, you can't go home and take a day off without losing your pay. And if you're going to lose your pay for 14 days, who's going to put up their hand and say, I'm willing to do that?
Right. Not too many. And, and by the time you fill out the paperwork for, let's say you need to take some, EI, by the time you've gone through the process, maybe a payment is just on the horizon. The 14 days is done and you're back to work, and then your claim gets canceled.
Yeah, and that's why we and medical experts have been calling for have the employer pay sick pay to the individual who's taking time off based on their salary, and then the province reimburse the employer for that money so that they at the end of the day are not out of pocket, right? And that way there, at least if I'm working in company X and I'm not feeling well and I need to go get tested and it turns out that I've got to isolate for 14 days, well, at least make sure that that option is able to be fulfilled by way of time off, paid sick time. But the government, they're looking as if they may change their minds. We heard today the government's kind of backing down a bit because they've been getting a shellacking on this one. It's not just the NDP, but every medical expert is saying, whoa, you guys have got to do this. This is like really getting out of hand. And so I think they may do something on that.
Good. Something to look forward to. I was kind of curious, 31 years in the office. What are some of the most common requests your office receives?
It's a mixture of things, but normally people don't call us when everything is going well. It's like, Jill, I just thought I'd give you a call and say, I got a promotion today.
No, they don't do that. No, I thought they did.
It doesn't work that way. But people normally call us. It's normally like day-to-day stuff. I can't get my workers' compensation approved. My birth certificate can't get processed. My small business loan. It's all that kind of interaction you have with government. And the thing that I tell people, and you might be surprised, ask me the questions, how many times in 31 years somebody has yelled at me? Ask me.
Okay, how many times?
How many times?
31 years. In 31 years, has someone yelled at you?
Twice.
Two.
Really?
Yeah. People are actually pretty cool. Yeah. They get mad and they're frustrated. I'm not saying they're not mad when they call my office and they're not frustrated. But if you take the time to listen to what their complaint is and work with them towards finding a solution, normally people are pretty darn good. And it's the fact that you try. We don't fix everything. Like, I can't fix every problem that comes through our door, but my staff and I fix most things because we take the time to follow up and do what has to be done. And I think that's what's put me in the position of being around for as long as I have, is that we've been very fortunate to be, somewhat successful when it comes to helping people. But generally people call you because they're having a problem getting something approved through the government. I've had calls where, it's like my husband has to be airlifted to the hospital in Toronto and the air ambulance isn't coming, right? I get on the phone and I call the air ambulance people, and God behold, the plane shows up and the person's flown to Toronto. I've had phone calls where I've had to bring bodies back from countries outside of, far away. A person died and had to come back and have to arrange to get a body back to Canada. You get all kinds of stuff in this job. Right. I always say it's like being the parish priest. I hear every confession.
Yeah, there we go.
And it doesn't matter what your denomination is.
Yeah. I get that with Mark. He tells me all his sins, and I have to forgive him.
Got to forgive him. And when we go to the show, it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We never air the dirty laundry on the show, but maybe that would make an interesting show down the road, right, Jamie?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
But looking at your track record, 31 years, a long time being an MPP. For this riding, what is your most biggest accomplishment, and do you have maybe something on the horizon that you would like to do before your time is done as the leader for the NDP up here?
Well, I think what I'm most proud of is that we've been very successful as a community to be able to lever the dollars necessary to rebuild infrastructure. You listen to Tories and Liberals during elections, like, oh, you need somebody on the government side. We never get anything. Well, look at Northern College, look at Collège Boréal, take a look at all our high schools, take a look at our hospital, look at the health clinics. We've managed to lever all kinds of dollars provincially to be able to upgrade our infrastructure. When I first got elected, we only had doctors' offices. Now we have two medical clinics, 2 or 3. We have 2 medical clinics. We have 2 family health teams. We have 3 medical clinics and 2 family health teams. We've done really well. Why? Not because Gilles Bisson is the MPP. I'm only part of it. It's because we have some really dynamic people in our community who put forward applications in order to get things funded, and they put together some really good projects. So if you look at Northern College, if you took a snapshot of what that college looked like when I was elected in 1990 as a footprint, and look at what it is now, that college has grown by leaps and bounds. We have the fire colleges there as far as, the emergency response part of it. We have a new residence. We have brand new shops in that place. You look at Collège Boréal and Université de Hearst. You look at all of our high schools. You look at all of our schools. We've done rather well. Now, the one place that I'm disappointed that we've not been able to do anything, and I don't blame the city for this for 2 seconds, our municipal roads are horrible. But the province stopped funding money to municipalities after we left government in 95 to help municipalities fix the roads. And if I'm disappointed about something, you just have to drive around the city of Timmins and look at the condition of our roads. And I don't blame Mayor Peary and council. It's not entirely their fault. The province and the federal government, to save money, stop transferring money to municipalities that used to pay for water, sewer, and roads and help offset the cost of municipalities. So now they got to go on their own and they don't have enough money. So if I'm disappointed about one thing is what this does to our infrastructure in Timmins. But as far as hard infrastructure like the hospital and everything else, we've done rather well. I'm pretty proud of those things.
That I agree with you, actually, 1,000%. And there's a lot of things to be proud of in our community. Yeah. I'm kind of curious though. So if you work a regular full-time job, you usually get an annual evaluation. It tells you, how well you've done that year and what you need to improve upon. So as an MPP, how do you know if you've had a successful year or if you've or if there's been things that you've sort of missed?
Well, the constituents will let you know pretty darn fast. Yeah. Let me tell you. Yeah, so if I don't return a phone call, or my staff doesn't follow up on, I have this thing, right? You call me and I say, okay, listen, I'm going to pass this on to staff person X. And if you don't hear anything in 2 or 3 days, here's my cell number, call me back. Okay. I don't get very many phone calls back because I have very good staff who have been with me a long time. Some of them for better part of 25 years, and they've gotten pretty good at what they do. And so I find the best way to know if you're doing okay is if you've got people calling you back and complaining and saying, hey, you son of a gun, I called you the other day and nobody got back to me. I normally, and my staff normally, get back to people, 95% of the time within a day or two. There are times that I miss phone calls. I get a call sheet. We call it a call sheet. My staff send me emails, right? And they say, so-and-so calls, so-and-so calls. So I'll get sometimes 5, sometimes 20 of those a day. There are times I try to call people, I don't get through to them, and I cycle through the email and I lose it. To be honest, I just, I don't find the email. Matter of fact, that's one of them calling me now. I'm just going to bring up that line. There we go. That was a 647 number. I'm not sure where that was from. But anyway, so there are times where I don't, but normally I measure by how many people call back to complain. And the real way is when you go out to the door and you're door knocking, especially in election time, and you go knock, 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 and they say, oh, Gilles, how's it going? So you're going to support me? Oh, you're doing a good job. Have a great day, Gilles. You're in trouble when they tell you that.
Oh, no.
Until they say, Gilles, absolutely, put a sign on my lawn. That's normally the test. That's the way I see it.
They're not happy with you, but they just don't want to get into the conversation.
That's right. Most people are wonderful. The people, not just here in Timmins, but I think anywhere, we're not confrontational by nature. We don't want to get into arguments. So people will not start yelling at me. I've had it happen before, but it doesn't happen very often. But what you watch for is if people sort of smile and shake their heads, have a great day, Gilles, well, then, something's going on.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to go out and ask people if they like the show, Mark, and they tell us the same. We're going to be like, we lost them.
That's right. It'd be tougher for them to be, more honest when you're face to face, but, it would make a fun segment if we.
People are honest, but they're careful. They're honest, but they're how would I say? They communicate.
Stretch the truth a bit, maybe.
Well, they communicate in a different way.
Sugarcoat it just a little bit, right?
Sugarcoat it. That'd be a good way to put it. Yeah.
But we've got great. It's funny you just popped that question up. This one coming in from Anne Moran, who's an Ontario Northland coach operator here in the city. She knew you were on the show. She wanted to put this question in because she's en route right now. So here it is. Gilles Bisson is an amazing man who fights for the advocacy and the rights for rare disease. I've always admired his speeches at the Parliament for our voices to be heard for equal health care treatment. He's also known to my family. My sister Elaine flew planes with Gilles. You're also a pilot. You're a pilot.
Elaine, yeah. Oh yeah. No, Elaine was getting her license just at the time I got mine, and did some flying with her. Yeah. No, I know what we were talking about. Listen, what a lot of people. Geez, whoever. Oh, that's an alarm now. I'm getting an alarm. So what a lot of people don't know is how I got into politics. And there's a number of things that brought me there, but one of them was I did the investigation on industrial diseases in the gold mines, along with Mo Shepherd, Omer Seguin, John Stevens, and a few other people. And we gathered the information that eventually led to lung cancer being recognized as an industrial disease in the gold mines through workers' compensation. Very long story, a whole other show we can do on that. It's quite interesting. It's a bit of an Aaron Brockovich story. But that's how I got into this, and it taught me you got to take care of those kinds of things. You got to remember they're real people being affected by real situations, and the job of anybody, any citizen, but especially an elected member like myself, is to make sure people like that are heard, and that we try to move the things forward for them so that they can get some justice.
And the comment from Anne, she dates back to she was our first guest on KINZ and KLOMP Live back on, I do believe, December the 2nd, and she's battling a rare form of HAE, and that's how she ran into you. You helped fight for one of her drugs, which I guess if it wasn't covered, thanks to your fight, $1.7 million a year for this drug to keep her going.
I know the case well. But so again, I got some really good staff, I got to say.
Yeah.
I got to give a shout out to Courtney, Sylvie, and Tina. They do amazing work. Sometimes we drop the ball, but not very often.
I like
and if we drop the ball, we pick it up and we run with it again.
We were working with Sylvie to get you on this show, and she's quick. She's very yeah.
She's a hoot.
Yeah, I love. So one more heavier question, and then we got a couple fun ones. But so the NDP needs to push the Liberal government to implement universal basic income, scrap the government jobs, handing out social services and other benefits which cost more than UBI for everyone would. So the question about a universal basic income comes up more and more. Is this something that is going to be seriously looked at in your mind?
We've already taken the position as an NDP caucus and as a party. Social democratic governments in Europe have been doing this for a while, and it works. Because why? You don't waste money. Like, think about it. We have workers' compensation. You have Canada Pension. You have LTD. You have ODSP. We have multiple programs that we administer to do the same thing. If you're not able to work because you're not well, as long as you got a medical receipt from a doctor saying that you can't work for this reason or another reason, we should be providing people, first of all, sick time based on one universal program. And it should be the same for basic universal income. I don't think the Liberals will ever do it. Arguing, we got to support the Liberals. Liberals have been in government for how many 100 years? I haven't seen it happen yet. So I think it's time we try something different and vote NDP. I do anyways. I always vote NDP.
Yeah, you do. Okay. I was going to ask that. You vote blue, but I guess it is orange.
He's a little biased with his.
A little bit biased.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit biased.
Just a bit. Now, before we dive into a fun question, there was a question. Can we scroll back, Jamie? There was one from Chad at Elite Geeks. He's one of the newest businesses here in the city. And where they say, if you're struggling during COVID times, you can't really do curbside. You've lost your, basic, your income. Here it is here. He says, I qualified for nothing because I was too new and barely hanging on monthly, never made a cent yet and not even making rent. And now that CRB is done, I'm probably going to need to close if this keeps up. Venture Center had a program for businesses that fell through the cracks, and I also fell through their cracks of that program. What do you have to say for new businesses like Chad and Elite Geeks here in the city?
Listen, 100% right. The problem with the way the government, both federally and provincially, designed these programs, it makes it that new businesses such as this find it very difficult, if not impossible, to qualify. I don't care if you're a new business or you've been there for 50 years. Your bottom line's the same. You got to pay your rent, and you got basic things that you got to pay. And if we're going to help businesses survive through this, we need to make sure that we provide them with the kind of support that they need economically to get there. People will argue and say, oh, Shiel, you're going to be spending way too much money. Spending way too much money? Do you see what governments are spending today? The federal government ran a $300 billion deficit. That's unheard of. The provincial government is running a huge deficit. I think it was around $60 billion. So spending a little bit of extra money to assist workers get time off when they're not feeling well and supporting businesses through this pandemic is a small price to pay to get to where we got to go.
And we do feel for those new businesses like Chad. You started up in the middle of a pandemic and just struggling to get through his first year. All right, Kinsman, we do have a couple funny ones. You want me to ask the first one, or you?
Well, I'll ask the first one here. Who faces more scrutiny, a member of provincial parliament or an NHL referee?
NHL referee, darn right. They get more scrutiny than I do. They can never get those calls right.
Are you a Leaf fan?
Voyons, si Canadien français, les Arabes de Montréal.
He's a Montreal Canadiens fan.
You asked me that, mon nom Bisson.
Yeah, fair enough. Go Sens go, but it hasn't been a good 100 years.
Listen, my rule is as long as the Canadian team wins, I'm happy.
Well, that's it.
The first team is Montreal, then after every Canadian team thereafter.
That's it. It'd be nice to see the cup back north of the border again.
But you know what my game is? Football.
Football?
Oh, I love football. I get dazzled just to watch every football game.
Oh, so you're talking about Premier League football or NFL football?
No, I'm talking NFL and CFL. We had no CFL this year, but NFL. I just love the game. You know what I love about football?
Yeah.
It's not one star that is going to win the game. You can have, Brady as your quarterback. If you don't have receivers and you don't have linebackers and you don't have the various players, you're going to lose. It's a whole team sport. I love the game. It's so strategic. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Have you been to Buffalo to see a game live?
Never been to a tailgate party. I've been to CFL games. Yeah. I've been to see the Argos. I've been to the Grey Cup, but I've never been to an NFL game. Love to go.
It's a different world there in Buffalo on game day.
Well, they take it seriously. No question.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a lot of fun. Okay, so the big one is, Mark and I are very curious. Is it possible to declare June 1st the KINZ and KLOMP provincial holiday?
They're powered by the powers invested in me. We declare it there be such a holiday.
There we go, Kinsman.
I got to tell you a funny story, though. You know, this this Heritage Month, this Heritage Day, and all these special days at the legislature. I find it ironic because, you know, it has some significance in the sense that somebody's recognized for a day, a week, or a month. But do you know how many of those things we got for every day, every week, and every month?
A lot,
probably hundreds of thousands.
If you had,
they say we'll put it on file. It's one of those, right, where you never.
It's just like if you had a list, you would get lost trying to read one day.
Yeah. Every day it's like it's pet day or best friend day or change the garbage day. Yeah.
I'm with you.
That's it.
Oh, that's great. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been heavy times in the last 13 or so months, but we appreciate you answering, you know, to the best of your knowledge and the support you have given the community. And, you know, we'd love to have you back on again. And hopefully we're, you know, a better story. We can talk about small business success stories next time around.
That's right.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
all
what
right, everybody. Stay safe. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Jill. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. There we go, Kinsman.
Gilles Bisson. And again, he's, you know, if you need to find him, obviously office is here in Timmins, small businesses. He had a post on his Facebook page. If you need help getting the bridges to get, you know, the financial aid that's being offered during COVID times, you know, look them up and, you know, give Gilles Bisson a message on Facebook. And you just saw he's, you know, living out at Kamoskosha, so he's not too far to lend a hand, especially for some of the businesses who are having trouble getting, you know, a bit of financial help right now.
Is the KINZ and KLOMP holiday a stat? It's
going to be a paid holiday.
Yeah, we should have asked for that while he was giving us our blessing. So, a couple local. So I will tell you, Kinsman, I did get my COVID-19 vaccine.
You did, and there's no third ears growing from your head. You know, people, all the conspiracies. You're still here. Yeah. Someone said maybe one of the side effects would be you would grow hair. That wouldn't be a bad one for you.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad, but that didn't happen. No. So I had that done. And here's the other one. F the snow. Okay.
That's right.
I know we had a pretty tame winter, and then we got teased with coming into summer months, maybe spring, and then we got blasted. And I know everyone posts pictures of it, and
people were putting out their pools, and
I know,
you know, the sandbags for the sandboxes, and then I think we jinxed it. It was someone who swapped their tires. It's usually someone who swaps their summers a little prematurely, and this is what happens. And I thought the F the snow, if you know Jody Bishop out there in the city, I thought that was from her Facebook page today. What? Are we brand new to the city here? Do we not know it snows in April? And it does, right? All the time.
She said that, but there was a couple other words in between. But yes, I know we're not new, but I still woke up this morning and had to scrape off my windshield before I got my coffee, before you called me at 7 a.m. And, you know, I was F the snow, but I think I used the full term when I was outside.
Yeah, well, the night before it, I love the optimism of people's posts, and they said, you know, it's all the optimism. They're saying, okay, the flakes are going to be heavy. It's going to be a damp snow. It's not really going to stick. It's going to hit the ground and melt. That's what we hope. And then, we woke up to a bit of a light dusting, as they say.
A light dusting. What's up, Guac? Hey, Yusuke, here's the thing. You and I are a team, right?
Yeah.
So you know, we go to do the opening of the soft opening. This different than a grand opening.
That's right.
You know, of our new restaurant, and you send me by myself today.
Well, I had to do the homeschooling today. Can't quite tell the teacher on the first day of homeschooling. We're going to take a field trip to Guac Mexi Grill. Just wouldn't fly. And it's funny. The teachers at the end of his class today started talking about our show because they see my little guy on the odd video here or there. And in fact, one of his teachers won movie passes a few weeks ago. So that he comes over. He's like, Papa, because he's going to a French school. So I know a little bit, but not too much. Comes over and grabs my shirt. He's like, Papa, they're talking about you. Well, he brought me over, and they were talking about KINZ and KLOMP live. So kind of fun. But that was my morning, and I knew you're well enough. You're more than capable of handling things on your own, and you did a good job. You were down there checking out the new tacos and burritos, and they've got fajitas and quesadillas. Talking to the owners, possibly beer on tap in there soon. It's
a nice place. Obviously, the first day there's going to be a lot of people in and out, but fresh, really good food. I loved it. So you get a new restaurant that opens up in your community, you got to support it. Whether it's food or things to do, that's something that we need in our community. So two guys that the one cousin has been here for 3 years. He went to Northern College. The other cousin, the Patel cousins, he relocated here last fall from Calgary to run this business, and two pretty nice guys. And I like it in there. So far, so good. But I like this question from Janica. Can we park on the road? Maybe we're back to this winter parking type thing.
They did the the street sweeping, and now it's snowed again. So does that cancel out the parking on the road again?
Yeah, I got my
coffee May 1st, right?
I got my coffee this morning and wished McDonald's a Merry Christmas.
Good old Chad Dubanow, always with a sense of humor, right? I like Chad.
Oh, look at this! You got blamed for something. Mark didn't mention the second half of my post, but happy 420.
Oh, sorry, Natalie. I apologize. Happy 420. And where are they located? Yeah, I was just actually going to say that. 370 Algonquin Boulevard East. They're in where Timmins Furniture is, right across from Mike's Restaurant. The Tim Hortons, that lot, pizza. All of that place is in there.
So takeout, delivery, that's all happening. They got a Facebook site, a web page, and it's good. It's really good. They have a taco bowl in there. I haven't tried that yet. So
no, it looked pretty good. And driving, I was picking my other little guy up who wasn't doing homeschooling. He was in daycare. Picked him up, and we drove by just to see what the lineup. And it wasn't excessively long. People spaced out. It was kind of nice. People can get in there and get their takeout.
Okay, what's this? You told me to write down $4 million.
Yes, $4 million. Don't you wish that was going to be on a lotto ticket for a near win? But the TADH, and their 50-50 draws, which they kicked off last September, to now have raised $4 million. They hit the milestone, which is $2 million to prize payouts and $2 million to the TADH Foundation, which goes to the essential equipment for the hospital. And if you haven't picked up a ticket for the April draw, just past that sign today, it's over $160,000. Timmins District 5050.ca is the place.
Are me and you ever going in on one of these draws together?
We should.
Yeah.
KINZ and KLOMP Live, we don't have that much, in the bank. Maybe we can add more hats and some hoodies to the list with a big win. Wouldn't that be something? But $160,000, that's no, it's not a kick in the bucket, as they say. That's a lot of change, life-changing money. And keep in mind, that's $160 to the winner right now if the draw were today, and $160 to the TADH. So again, another fabulous draw there from our folks at the hospital.
Jody says, what are we talking about? I think she knows now, but Mark and I were looking at your post from today.
Yes.
Talking about 420 and the snow. What are you beeping new here?
Can you bring back the caption? I thought it was from Jody's page.
Yeah.
It's F the snow. That was back before the 4 million anyhow.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
We were just poking some fun, Jody, not nothing serious.
No, I love that post. It had me in tears. I absolutely loved it. The Anti-Hunger Coalition, they have something to announce, correct?
Yes. Talking to Helen today, she says, can you put this on your show? And I said, sure. So this is what's going to happen. The Timmins Community Cookbook Project They celebrate community, heritage, diversity, and inclusion. But here's the fun and cool part. They're looking for Timmins recipes. The Anti-Hunger Coalition is seeking recipes for the Timmins Community Cookbook Project. And, after the show, I'm gonna post the link to our Facebook page. And there's going to be a link where you can submit your recipes. And she even put in the comments, KINZ and KLOMP can put their recipes in. What am I going to put in? Craft dinner, the special edition of Craft Dinner, where I add the hot dog wieners for a little spice and pizzazz.
You're going to be like Mark Kinsman, extra milk on the Fruit Loops.
That's right.
Take out the green ones. Oh, thanks a lot, Mark. You made a big difference.
It's my fancy version of, Craft Dinner. When you've gone to the fridge, there's no milk. So you're like, what am I going to use? And someone told me to use a scoop of Cheese Whiz, a scoop of that, and you stir it around, and there, voila, you've got the same Craft Dinner, but you just didn't have to apply milk because you had that. So, but anyhow, if you've got a recipe, I don't know, maybe Grandma's recipe that everybody always says, oh, you got to try these butter tarts, you got to try this, Nanaimo bar or a lemon meringue pie. Get them in again. The Timmins Community Cookbook. And that's through the Anti-Hunger Coalition and their Facebook page. It's kind of fun.
I love them. We love them there. We dropped off. They were part of the Defeat the Morning Grind. Good people. How was the curry chicken, Mark? Did you have?
That's from Lori. I was at Pick of the Crop yesterday and running late for time. Decided to pick up one of their curried chicken dishes, and it was fabulous. It was a good, ready to eat meal. Just pop her in the microwave and off she goes.
You don't go in there and say, I'm Mark Kinsman, I don't wait in line, do you? Okay, good.
No. But I did the last time I was in there, Lori was at the cash, and then they scooted me to another cash. Didn't have a chance to say, hello or anything. Right. Just the wave. But last night I had the chance to go through her cashier. So yeah, Lori, a big fan of the show. She and I, we go back 12 years. She's been a fan of me in the radio field. And now KINZ and KLOMP Live. And we just sent her a message. The video shout-outs. My little guy and myself did that today for shopping local. And again, that's a post on our Facebook page. If you tell us where you shop, you just might get a video message in your inbox.
Good. So a couple things for small businesses before we wrap it up. So we had the draw on Sunday. 3 businesses received $1,000 each, but this may not be the end, right, Kinsman?
Nope, it's not going to be the end, because anybody who knows Chris LaMarche here in the city, Innovative Audio Mobile, of course, Chris and Melissa LaMarche, they own, I call that the little empire there on Wilson, Spoiled Rotten, and then you've got Chris and Innovative Audio Mobile. This is going to be exciting because he phoned up and said, you know what, I saw what you guys did last Sunday with $1,000, and I'd like to donate $1,000. So he is issuing a challenge. In fact, if I go to his message, let's go to his message now. He's putting out a challenge to all the car dealerships in the city. So Chris LaMarche says, I want to ask each of the car dealerships to match my $1,000, sort of a challenge to them. So not only will it be Chris's 1,000 giving away, we can have multiple thousands like we just did this past weekend, and better put some money in a small business's pocket who hasn't had the chance to earn anything during the stay-at-home order.
Good. So that will be coming out soon. That is amazing. And then don't forget, if you're a local business and most people have been struggling through this time, we are offering free advertising on our show, courtesy of Martin Peel, again, from K9 Ads Protection and Detection Services. So just send us a message. Send me a message, not Kinsman. I'm much more pleasant to talk to. And we'll set you up, right, Mark?
That's right. But Martin, the best guy. I always say, he'd give you the shirt off his back, and in this case, he's giving you free advertising for 2 months. All the way to the middle part of June, he's got you covered to get your, on our show to showcase your businesses.
I'll post the recipe for sure. So you will post you have to send the link. Yeah, we will post it right after.
Right after the show. It'll be on our KINZ and KLOMP Live Facebook page, and again, the Anti-Hunger Coalition looking for your recipes. Would that be something? No matter how many years, 100 years from now, someone picks up this cookbook and they find your recipe in there.
That's awesome. And you're very much welcome, Helen. Yeah, we're happy.
Thanks, Helen.
I think that's great. All right. Jamie sends you video for dinner invite. My kidsman, who knows what I'm up to these days. You are keeping me busy. Okay, so good show tonight. I think I am going to have my supper now. So
you're going to have your din.
Yes, sir.
Excellent stuff. Well, we'll get things ready for Thursday night show. And again, maybe more details on the next big $1,000 draw. Right now, Chris LaMarche ponying up $1,000. So we at least know the next draw is going to have $1,000. So go back to that initial post and put your business in there for a chance to win. And again, it could be multiple thousands on Thursday night show. Just depends on who takes the bait on the challenge. All car dealerships are he's looking at you. So all right, we'll see what happens.
You have a good night.
Yep, you too. Cheers.